Hello everybody. Trying to get back into some casual streaming. Weekends are good. Trying to wake up ASAP and just get into doing some work, and that's what we're going to do today. I don't know how much music, as you can tell, it's still a little early, how much talking we'll do. Just really want to hammer this stuff out. We're going to be working on a 5-page portfolio piece for publishers and stuff like that for comics. Primarily the big two. And I'm going to combine some of the characters together. I'm sure I'll be repeating some things, questions that'll get asked as the stream's going. We're in Photoshop. Double check, make sure. Yeah, seems like we're good. So I thought I would, do a recording of this, the whole process going through here, because I know, yes, this is being streamed, but at the same time, this should be recorded. And some people have, like the questions of how do you start a pitch, what do you include in there, and stuff like that. The first things I usually like to do, at least that I've been finding, is having a plot outline. I like to work that way, as opposed to on each page this sort of thing happens. For this, it's a little different because this isn't really necessarily meant for people to read a good story necessarily and enjoy. This has to hit quite a bit of different things all at the same time. One is, can you tell a story, right? How's the art look? And hopefully I'm able to do something, or if you guys are doing your own portfolios as well, that you'll be able to do something that engages whoever it is that potentially is hiring you or anything like that. So I usually like to break things down. You guys have seen some of the other videos that I've done of story or whatever. The beginning, middle, and end. It's 5 pages, so I'm putting 1 and 5 here. And I like to start with the ending. I'm gonna put. I don't really want to have it like the heroes win. Doesn't really matter, because I want to have, there's some things in here that I want to do. I did a first batch of thumbnails and I've misplaced them, so I sort of have to start over here. But I want the reveal to be just like a bigger monster, and I can have a little bit more regular people in the beginning and stuff like that. So that's more so what I'm trying to go for. So heroes face. So we begin with pretty much the opposite. So I believe in the original one I had 2. It was grandparents to show old people with grandson. Walking through probably New York or just some sort of city. Let me just check here. Keyframe. Check some of the settings here. Getting some errors popping up. I don't know if there's even a chat. It looks like there is. So if there is, I see a few people that are watching right now. Just let me know if you wanted to just quickly chime in. Just let me know if video is stuttering or anything like that. Because I don't really know. I'll have to do a little bit more research into this for future videos. Anyway. So usually the first, what I'll do here is start with the end, where I want to go, and then we start the story with usually the total opposite, and it depends. Hey, the blue. It usually depends on how crazy you want to go with that opposite, right? Like, so regular people walking through New York, and then at the end we've got heroes fighting a giant monster. It's pretty different. So the transition is what happens in between these pages to make that transition happen. So I'm going to have, the heroes are already going to be here most likely on page 2. Heroes fight. Whoops. Wave of monsters. Am I drawing it on that? Oops. Okay, that's fine. So, let's go between here. Let's sort of figure this out. So, in the initial idea, and I'm still going to use it in this one. Again, I had to restart here. Is we're gonna have Marvel DC characters going against Mole Man. Mole Man's cool. I dig him, and I was trying to think of like a cool villain that has, you know, like you're trying to hit a bunch of things. At least I'm trying to do that, right? So city, rocks, you know, like sort of like that organic feel to things. Old people, regular people, a city, cars. And Mole Man, I always like the Fantastic Four. And Mole Man's got like that range, right, where he can have the little mole people. He himself looks pretty cool. And summon giant underground beasts, right, which is sort of like the last thing we'll do. And as for the heroes, I'm going to make a list of who I'm going to put in here as well. So page 2, we'll have, what did I have in there? Right, Mole Man. Invades New York. Heroes fight. So what's the difference between the heroes fight and bigger monster? Okay. Heroes confront Mole Man. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm pretty sure I had, he's going to use like that big horn that he's got. He just sort of summons like a giant monster kind of deal. Okay, so let's get some heroes. I know I had, we'll put Marvel over here and DC over there. Spider-Man. He's going to be pretty much the guy telling the story here. Spider-Man, have to have the Hulk. That's my guy. DC. So the women are always like, you know, I want to include at least one female in here. And, you know, I'm not too familiar too much with DC, but probably just, you know, what the hell, we'll do Wonder Woman. Whoops, woman. Wonder Woman. I sort of want to balance this out. You know, Batman's huge. I do enjoy, I'm going to do Superman. I prefer Superman. Might be enough, just 4 people. But just in case, we'll see how the thumbnails go. Thumbnails are going to just help us sort of determine if we need any of these characters put in there. Yes. Trying to think, we got muscles, we've got the athletic character, female character. Superman's the generic, you know, Captain America style. I really don't like drawing Iron Man and stuff, but we gotta maybe put him in. Can't always draw what we want to draw, right? Iron Man is a character in the universe. So that, possibly Doctor Strange. It's a cool outfit that he's got, plus we can get some like kind of techie sort of stuff. So it should be enough. We don't need to dwell too much on that. Oh, you are getting the, yeah, what's it, just let me see one thing on my end here. It's funny because the resolution I'm streaming out isn't optimal. It's 1280 by 800. But it, redundancy. Okay, so none of these settings apparently I'll be able to fix during the stream. Yep, sorry. I apologize if you guys watching this and it's coming out absolute skunk. Okay, so I know what we need here. So what we're going to do is just do some thumbnails. And I had a rough idea already of what we're doing with this. So this first one, grandparents, grandson walking. I'm going to do that. You guys may have already seen this. I shared a couple versions of this already. So this establishing shot up here is panel 1 is New York. We're going to have parents walking. What did we have here? I'm going to break this down. And we'll figure out the actual panel placement after that. Okay. Okay, well, no, either way, I appreciate your guys' feedback. Thank you. So when I'm doing the thumbnails here, what I've been trying to get into is, check this out, is a brush like this. Absolutely disgusting. Like, I get no pressure sensitivity at all, but what this does force me to do is I can't get in there and do details, right? It's shapes. And that's the most important part of it. So the first thing we're going to do here is New York City. And I am kind of looking over this side here. This one thumbnail is the only one that I was able to find. We got a blimp up top. There's some elements here that I'm going to have to put in to let people know that it's New York City. I think the easiest one's the Statue of Liberty. I know there's some other buildings and stuff, but we'll figure that out in the next stage here. What I'm worrying about here is just like composition and where things are going. So this giant blimp, point over, but what we're going to be doing is in this next shot, it's the characters here, they're walking with the little grandson, and we're going to have all, you know, like New York City behind them. But what this is really cool, I recommend you guys try to think like this too. I find it helps me anyway. Is see, we got this blimp over here. One of the main reasons why it's in here is it helps placement of things, right? Like, it's such a weird thing that if it's in other shots, then it'll automatically like ground everything sort of together. So we're gonna put the blimp back here so you can see where it starts and where it's going. Kind of tilt the panel this way as well, like the ground. Put some cars here. The road, we can kind of have it going into the next panel. And then this one was a similar one already. So we've got the little boy looking up. There's grandma and grandpa. And then down here was the grandma looking down. The kid's got like a happy grin on his face. And he's holding a superhero action figure. So sometimes in thumbnails, I'm not sure if you guys ever go through this or not, but like, this is a hot mess for sure. But since we're going to be doing volumes of these, like, I like to do batches of thumbnails. I'm not one of those guys that can, not that I can, but I prefer not to do an entire page in a day. I've found that workflow is very old school, and it works for a lot of people. However, it's a struggle knowing that when I come, for me anyway, I don't like waking up and going, okay, I've got a blank page to look at, and by the end it has to be a finished piece. I really don't like doing that, especially with comics, because the amount of work it takes to put into a piece is like, if I was doing this full time, if I was making comics full time, that might be different. But in saying that, I like to do the bulk or the batches of this sort of stuff. So when I come back to this page, like, since these are so rough, I might not necessarily know what the hell the angle is, right? Hopefully I can feel it and remember it. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just put little arrows outside of the panels. It might look a little bit like a storyboarding thing, but that's just to let me know, like, okay, this is an up shot, the arrow is up, right? And this is a down shot. Again, just clarification, so that when I come back, because when I come back, right, like I might not know what all this area is over here, even though that's somebody's face. And then the last panel here, we're going to have a little bit more. I didn't really do this too much in the original one, but get like a fish eye. I'm just gonna put fish here so I don't forget. Just so we get that warp, you know, kind of like that. Just, I don't know, it just always feels like when it's warped, like there's more action that's happening, it's more intense or something. But I had these blasts coming out of the ground, and I think it's magma. I don't know what it is. I just thought it was cool to have like these energy things coming up. It's Mole Man. He's coming up in the next one or whatever. But we can have the old man, and he's protecting his wife and his grandson. And we get to show some other people, you know, like, oh, they get knocked out. Some people are falling over. We get this one's knocking a car up in the air or something, right? Just to get the idea. That's all thumbnails are for. Not the detail. That's why I'm using this disgustingly fat brush here. So save it up. I wish there was a way to see that. Puppy Pill is asking, are there any true benefits of switching between Photoshop and Manga Studio, or am I okay with Manga Studio 5? And PJ Alexander saying, I use Manga Studio 5 and haven't had any need for Photoshop. I don't think if you've got Manga Studio, just stick with that. There's no real reason for it. I do find the editing part is better. I mean, that's what Photoshop's meant for. However, the sort of style that I'm working in lends itself, I find, at the day job I do work in Photoshop, so a lot of, like, I'm learning I get more mileage in Photoshop per hour of a week, so the nuances of brushes and things I'm more accustomed to. Manga Studio is perfect. It's a wonderful, probably the best drawing program out there. That's also to say that the line art stage that I work in, which you guys know, the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics, Freddie Williams method, I can just export that flat line into Manga Studio and ink over it. It's not that. It's just the development stage, I do find, seems to come a lot easier in Photoshop with the paths and stuff like that currently. But again, that's just because I'm in there all the time. That's all. Other than that, I've done full pages and illustrations in Manga Studio as well, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get into some of this page 2 here. Mole Man evades New York. So there's some things we want here. I know I can still see this stuff in my head. That's why I'm remembering bits and pieces of this. But the mole men, they're sort of at the end looking up, and we're gonna have like shadows on them, and that's the heroes, you know, jumping down on them. So I don't have to black everything out, so I can still remember that. Oh, okay. The point of that shot is the shadows. Kaioken Krillin? That's your name. Sketchbook or Photoshop for beginners? If you're talking about, like, I think Sketchbook Pro, the only time I've actually used it was on my phone. I don't know. I would probably, if I had to pick one, probably Photoshop. I think you'll end up learning more in that than you would Sketchbook Pro. But saying all that, it's really a preference thing. If it's all about cost, I'd go with Manga Studio myself. So we have like the eruption part here. Come through the streets, we get some street lamps and stuff. And here I want to have like a mole mount, where Mole Man can be on top of it, you know. And we don't want to lose the main characters of the story here, the old man and the old lady. Right, so put the guy here, the woman here, he's still protecting them. Probably the kid behind them or something, you know. Want that. Just trying to figure out here. Okay, so Mr. Dawson is saying composition. There's a great book called Framed Ink in regards to another user's questions. Any tips for compositions in comics? Yeah, that book is absolutely wonderful. I think that there's sort of like a rhythm and a flow that always happens. Going like this way is what you want to be doing all the time in American comics or North American comics. There's another book I'm going to be picking up about, what's it called? Cinematography. And the other thing to remember too is, some people don't like thinking about it like this, but I think it helps big time. It's thinking like you're a director filming a movie. And if, let's say, our actors, you guys have all probably already seen this, our actors here are eating at a dinner table, right? So that's a man and a woman eating at a table, some more people eating, blah, blah, blah. This invisible line, or imagine it's like a stage and the audience is over here watching this movie, right? Like that's us looking at the screen. The camera is here, right? But the camera can never go over here. The camera can go anywhere over here. It can go down looking up from underneath the table. It can come up here looking down on them, right? But the moment you cross, all of a sudden it's a new background you get to see, right? So imagine this camera's on this side. Well, now you get to see all this audience on the other side, or a wall. It's kind of like, the easiest way to think about it is pick a sitcom. Let's use Seinfeld, for example. There's a reason why you never see the TV, like the wall that Jerry's TV's on, that they're always watching, right? Think of it like that, and it just makes it so much easier for people to keep track of characters that are in a shot. Okay, so that's why you'll always see in shots, you'll have like person A here, we're behind them with the table, and they're talking, right? And I'm going to put clown hair on them here, just so you can see the difference. And then when we go behind this person with the clown hair, the table, and the bald person, right, and they're talking. That's why, because it's this shot here. If you don't do that, then it gets odd pretty quick. If all of a sudden, instead of that panel, you go to, how would this be? It would be clown hair here, with bald man over here. And now this is where the audience would be looking, right? Whereas on this side, you might have some pictures on the wall or something like that. It's a little confusing to see, I can tell, but I'm hoping anyway. What I'm trying to say, it's like really the basics sort of thing in there. And I apologize, I'll just say this right now, if I don't get to a lot of your guys' questions today. Trying my hardest. I've got some life/family things I have to do today, so I want to make sure I'm getting a dent in this stuff. So please don't be offended if I can't get back to your questions. Total Geek, hi, I'm writing a comic. I didn't write down a script. I'm just sketching the pages to figure out how comics work. This bad, or should I write a script? Well, this is the script I wrote here. I think the easiest way you can do it is, if it's your first time, if you want to be a writer, well, you have to write it. If you just want to be an artist, I feel like artists, you got a lot more power. You can figure things out as you go. Like the Kirby Stan Lee workflow that people talk about. I don't think you necessarily have to write a script. I don't really like writing scripts. From time to time I might, if there's like a juicy piece of dialogue or story that I really want to hammer down. But for the most part, I can just keep into account that you'll have speech bubbles, right? So like if I was drawing this, just say this is my own story. This is Jessup King, we'll say, right? So maybe the villain shows up, I'm going to go, okay, he's going to say something here, and then he's going to say something there, and I want him to say something here. Maybe I want somebody off screen to say something here, so I got to make more room for the pen. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, you just have to be aware that you're probably going to have speech bubbles. So, and this works even if you're not doing your own thing. Always make room for speech bubbles. The last thing you can do is, the worst thing you can do is just sort of like not include that for some really weird reason. And if you don't include it, it makes everybody else's job on the production line like infinitely worse here. So we're gonna have Mole Man here. He's gonna be pointing out on his little mole steed rocks here. Maybe we'll put some water behind him. That might give him more of more of a mystical look. From a broken sewer. And then here we're going to have all the mole people jumping out. You can get like... I want to be careful I don't go too big with these guys because I still want to show the background. I've been struggling a lot lately. One of my favorite artists, Joe Madureira, I've been just reading up on all these comic book artists and just sort of like interviews if I can find them that they've been talking about. And Joe's, oh man, if you guys don't know Joe Madureira by now, I hope you do search out his stuff and you at least get interested in it. Anyway, he was talking about in one magazine, and I've known this for a little bit, of that he doesn't like drawing backgrounds and stuff. It's more about the characters for him, and I agree. There's something really cool about that. However, I've also been reading a lot of stuff about Brian Hitch, and that guy's all about the scene, right? And because of that, it's I don't know. I'm sort of like, yeah, there's some truth there to like sort of bring the environment people are in to life. So. It's a mixed bag. It's a little bit of both, right? Because one's going into showing everything about character, and the other one's all about like making it seem believable, I suppose. Is the other way to look at it. So I'm not sure if I like this panel here. I'm going to show you what I like to do here with thumbnails. I talk about this all the time. So this will be pass 1. We're going to do this exact same page again. So the vibe I'm going for is trying to think as well of. This one's only got 4 panels, but if you grab a comic book, right, I've got Invincible, hear me here, I'm just going to flip through it. They average, what is it, 4 to 6 panels. So that's the other thing to try to keep count of. Not every page has to do this, but you know, you are trying to sell your art. However, this is just me, my thought about it. That there will be writing in there as well, so you gotta see how much information you can sort of cram into some of these panels. So the second one, we've got Mole Man emerging. It says a little bad guy speech, sends his minions to attack, and then the heroes are going to show up at the end. So the one thing I'm not like, I like actually everything here except this middle part. I think we could do a better job of showing these mole people doing some damage before the heroes show up. So what we might do is I'm going to combine those 2 panels a little bit. Still have that undershot of Mole Man because I want to see his face. I like this will be a real treat to draw. Maybe here he can be ordering these guys, you know, like go fight. No, I'm not. Well, I think I'm going to be done with Picardo. I'm not too sure. I know next week's stream is going to be through here. The one thing that I definitely do like about YouTube is there's a lot more people on there, and I mean a lot of people that watch my stuff whenever I release it are here on YouTube. So it's sort of like I'm getting more feedback from the people that initially were interested in my stuff, whereas Picardo's, there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, but it's starting to get into like a closed community, which is fine, but I'm not trying to start a community, right? I'd just rather share more stuff with people that are interested. So, plus it's a lot easier. Once I'm done, it's already saved here. I don't have to do an extra upload or anything. This is some royalty-free classical music. It's on Spotify. One of the Mole Men have big glasses. Yeah, it's yeah, whatever the mole guys look like. I gotta do a little bit more research on them. So I wanted to have that. Maybe we can have, instead of this giant wave going side. You know what? I do enjoy the sideways shot. But let's bring it more into the street here. What if we get cars being flipped over, and maybe we can get like a big actual... So I know the Hulk's coming up. So let's get like a big brute Mole Man guy here. Ramming stuff. Close up of this little mole dude. And we should probably put some people in here. And I do realize, again, talking about Joe Mad, he has a shot very similar to this, so I gotta be careful. Excuse me, I think it was a Spectacular Spider-Man, or something Spider-Man. A little note here, maybe. And again, this is just ideas. I don't want to, nothing here's final, right? So I don't want to spend too much time putting all that detail in there. So, let's see here. Maybe we can have a fist here. No, we need room for him to talk. Alright, so let's see if we can do this. Yeah, Twitch has always been on my mind for sure. My only concern is that it's I'm not really doing video game stuff, so the audience isn't the same. So with YouTube anyway, this is sort of like where I think maybe I'll speak to myself on this one, but like everybody sort of starts here. Like this is where I started doing stuff, right? And it just feels like it makes more sense with the content that I'm doing. That's all. But no, I think Twitch is, yes, absolutely, it's great. I go there all the time. Watch all kinds of videos. Alright, so we can do here, so we can get a little bit more room up here. How's that feel? So to address the composition thing I'm talking about, I'm trying to look at these pages as if I was reading them, right? So one thing to keep in note, I didn't do it. Actually, I have a different template page. I don't know why I'm using this one. This one is an older one, where you'll start with page 1 and then you flip it, right? And you get page 2, page 3, because that actually affects the composition of 2 pages when you open up 2 pages, right? So I'm just trying to look at this and think, how's this flow? So kids are talking, explosion, mole man shows up. So it's pretty fast. There's a lot of beats that are happening here. We're not really settling in on, like, think about this. Mole Man has shown up, ordered a giant wave of bad guys to attack the city, and we told all that in 4 panels. So this page, you know, you're gonna read in 20 seconds. Do we want to settle on anything? Let's just go back here. Heroes fight wave. See, like, it's a let's just keep going. We'll see how it goes. They're just thumbnails. So now we have to have like the heroes fighting the monsters, but they haven't even shown up yet, so we gotta have them show up. Puppy Pill is saying, one last question before I go. I'm trying to start up a webcomic. Am I okay with a 1 to 2 panel comic? Maybe 3 for a page, or should I have more? To me, the really cool thing about webcomics is you can do whatever you want. So if you want to do that, go ahead, do it. I really couldn't tell you one way or the other, simply because obviously what I'm doing here, this is more of North American comics, right? There's a process to that, but with web, it's open. I've seen people do like that infinite canvas stuff where you can just sort of, you can scroll all over the page and different panels happen and things. There's the gag strips. There's one panel comics, like in newspapers and stuff, right? So just do whatever you think helps your comic. Like, what is it about? Are you trying to be like an American or North American traditional? Are you trying to be like a traditional comic on the web? Then there's probably something different in that. Whereas if you're trying to be a good example that I like to put out there, I don't know if you guys check it out. Oh, I'd recommend doing it. Oh, excuse me. Is the Boulder and Fleet webcomic by somebody I look up to in comics big time, Jersey Drozd, Boulder and Fleet. Check it out. I'm most certain that he started his comic based off Instagram. So Instagram's a square, and that gives you a whole different bunch of creative decisions as well. Hey Lawrence. So I will let you guys know I'm about to start a little 5-minute break here. I gotta bring my timer in. I don't have it here, but we're back on the Pomodoro stuff for those of you that don't know. How does a Pomodoro work? I have a video on that, but you guys can research it for free. Essentially, you work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. You do that 4 times, and on that 4th time, instead of taking a 5-minute break, you take like a 10, 15 20, whatever you want, minute break, and you do it again. And it forces me, so that I feel like I'm getting a break. I'm definitely one of those people that's like, the more you sit with something, the more you're like, okay, I'm going to go do something else now. So that sort of helps me break that. So I just want to get the layout for this next page done. And then we'll go on a little break here. Let me actually just set this up. The program I'm using here is called Open Broadcast Software. I learned how to do this if you go to picardo.tv. They have a whole walkthrough on how to set this up. And I'm a big fan of that stuff. If I don't have to do any of the work. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm doing this here, guys. I just want to see if this will work. Alright, I'll just write it on the screen. Doesn't matter. Does the computer need specs to run it? I have found that in any case, the better your computer, obviously the better it'll run. But for the most part, it's very lightweight compared to other things I've been using. Some people use a program I think called XSplit. Check that out as well. I think a lot of people on Twitch use that. Alright, so we need heroes fighting waves. So this one maybe we can slow it down. So we want that, we're going to need heroes showing up. And I want that to be sort of like a pretty big, splash shot here. So we'll leave a lot of real estate for that. Then we want the fight. So I like the idea of them crashing down on the bad guys. So I think we're going to actually, normally I like to start here, right, left to right as the heroes are falling down. And I think that works really well. But I've already established that these characters are on the left. And the other compositional thing is I can get some, like some effects going this way, some sort of plane, I don't know who's, Quinjet or something, I don't know. And we're going to get some characters falling down, but what this also lets us do is I have this really cool, not really cool, but I like this idea of maybe getting a panel going this way, and it's the Hulk just crunching down on a guy. Now that I'm thinking about this in hindsight, I believe this was... You know what? No, we're changing this. I'm bringing this over here. I'm going to explain why. What I want is... The Hulk is my guy, so I want to at least give him a little showcase. I want the Hulk to be the one that these guys are looking at. And the Hulk just, boom, just, smashes right into these mofos. Right from out of nowhere, we'll figure out exactly what the Hulk's gonna be doing. We can get like all that cool, like all these like minions flying around. And then, sort of like the Hulk was the first in the scene kind of deal. So he's there. So I'm just sort of thinking in my head here. I can't really explain this. This is sort of like if you work quick, you just jam out the ideas that are there and hopefully they stick. So he's bang, hits this one guy. Get some close-ups of some these little like, scared little mole men or whatever. Picture of a fist. Another hit. And then sort of pull back at the end here of the Hulk, just laying waste to these guys. And this actually can be a little bit, like, I can already tell this is going to be a pain in the ass. Having to draw all these figures. Like some artists, they're like known to be like, let's draw a bunch of guys. The amount of time it takes, like, it's so exhausting, I find, to be able to draw all these things. But and one of the fears I have is including this sort of thing in my portfolio, because maybe they'll look at it and go, oh wow, maybe they really enjoy the way that I draw that sort of stuff, right? and then I just start getting a lot of work that's a lot of this stuff. And then the other side of it's like, stop, you know, being a little baby about it. If that's the complaint, oh no, you gotta draw these people, like, really? Come on now. Drawing some cool stuff here. So as you can see, it's very dumb. This is very small stuff, but hopefully I can remember sort of the idea here. So, bang, Hulk shows up, knocks some heads off, kind of thing. Starts fighting some dudes. You know, Hulk's out. Maybe we can get some. Maybe we can get like a couple of these the bigger mole guys, kind of like trying to tackle him down, but it doesn't work. Just a big mosh pit. And then now we can kind of have the heroes show up. And I'm actually going to switch this up. Now we can go back to, you know, getting the ship, and then the heroes all shoot out. I'm going to change the panel up here because, and this is one of the good things of knowing where your pages are going. See how we've got like this long shot up here, and then we got these three profile sort of panels. I don't want to be doing that too much, so we're going to go with a horizontal panel after this one, just to make it look different than the other ones that are there. So we'll have the heroes jumping down, and very similar actually I think to this panel, which might be a cool callback of all those guys running. We can have the heroes all doing something cool. It's a big, you know, fight. And maybe this might be a good moment to actually introduce somebody like Iron Man, because he could probably do like a giant like a big prison around the guy, sort of like Green Lantern, right? Just one way to get rid of all these guys. And what we're gonna do here is the last panel. I can kind of go in here. I already know that we're going to. I want Spider-Man to sort of like point out that he's, hey guys. He's got a horn, kind of thing. I think we're not done here, guys. All this stuff up, obviously. Cool. I'll figure that shit out. Again, I'm just putting this down here so when we get to it, we can clean this up. And we'll have Mole Man here on his mount, and then bang, even more like this giant, just earthworm kind of thing comes down here, and we can have the heroes all like, oh Jesus. Okay, so let me make another thing here. Okay, so I'll be right back in 5 minutes, you guys. Thank you, and I'll be right back. Okay. I was actually looking at or watching a stream. I forget the guy's name. God, he's got some of the best Manga Studio 4. They're not even tutorials, just videos of him drawing on YouTube. And he says his clock in here, so I was able to find it and download it. And the reason why I was interested in it is because on the Cintiq here, what's awesome is I get the whole screen. Excuse me, but I would like a clock sometimes so I can see, you know, okay, well, how far do I have to go and what's left and things like this. What's going on here? Trying to grab the clock here. Shouldn't be this hard. What's it? Clock X. It's not letting me move it over. Alright, well, sorry guys, 1 second here. Options, there we go. Okay. That's what we want, so we can still grab it. There we go. I had accidentally set it so when I move my mouse over it just disappears, which is great. But then it decided to not show up. I wanted to move it. Okay. Okay, so where do we end off here? So we got the Hulk coming in, smashing all these dudes up. This surprise look, actually, I'm gonna change because they're just looking too stupid. Like, there's just so much going on. Perhaps in this one we can actually have, you know, something a little bit more so we can see the Hulk in there. Maybe we can get, I don't know, Hulk doing something else here. Maybe people are starting to climb on him, like they're starting to overwhelm him, perhaps. And this one might be able, we could do like a scream. Get a close up of the Hulk, maybe like an eye. Or something. Then he starts fighting back. Throwing dudes off him. Might be a little better. Okay. Alright, so we got that. Oh, where do we go? Oh yeah, alright, so everything's kind of getting muddy here. So we're going to have the heroes who... We're going to have Spider-Man, Hulk we already got. So who's jumping out of here? We're going to do... So this is tough. Iron Man or Doctor Strange? Iron Man or Doctor Strange? Iron Man's going to let us show some tech. Not the best at it. Doctor Strange get us some fabric going on. I mean, Wonder Woman with her hair and Superman's cape. I guess Iron Man's the one that stands out. So we need Iron Man to jump out of this, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, and Superman. So we can do like probably pretty cool. Who's going to be leading this one? Let's get... I think Superman. Thanks, Ben. Maybe Iron Man would be up front. Get the guy we don't want to draw up front. Here, Superman. No, you know what? Screw this. We're getting Superman doing his double fists here. He's coming in. Alright, so that's not going to work because he's got a cape. So in a shot like this, I know there's a lot of room here and I don't know what's going in here, so I need 5 characters, so I'm just going to gesture them in and I'll come back to this once I have to do the roughs. Because again, the thumbnail should just be like why I'm struggling is because I'm trying to jump ahead. I'm trying to include certain elements in here that shouldn't be here. These are the thumbnails. It's to capture an idea. The roughs are where we would figure that out. So thumbnail, in terms of difficulty for drawing, I think, well, for myself anyway, is thumbnailing is the hardest part of this, followed very closely to roughs. The actual clean line art and stuff, that's not as hard. It takes more, let's say, a different skill set. Is probably the better way of saying it, because you got to start worrying about things making sense visually, right? Arms connecting the right spots, proportions, all that stuff. But the thumbnail is the initial snapshot from your brain from what you're seeing in its rawest, most energetic way. I find it's the purest form of whatever the hell it is that you're going to do. The roughs are tightening up your thumbnails to the point where you can start inking them, right? So tight pencils, it'd probably be a stage in between those two even. It's, you know, like blowing up this shot right here. Whatever that's a mosh pit of guys around the Hulk, right? This is like this, okay, cool, I got that, but what does that actually look like? That's the rough stage, where you start to figure out certain places of anatomy and costumes and the design aspect, not necessarily the final look. That's not what you're trying to look for. Again, that's when you're getting into the ink stuff. But those two stages, the roughs and the thumbnails, for me, are the most important and the most difficult by far. And they're arguably the most important part, even though they don't look that great, right? Without that, I find that it'll be a struggle when we get to actually tightening things up. Did I ever finish it? No, I did not finish the Turtles pitch. There was a couple projects that happened in between that I was unable to do them. And I had a few discussions in the meantime. I know it's been a while for that. Yeah, there were some things that happened that I can't share. It was like private conversations and stuff, but just sort of changed my view and stuff. I definitely always want to be, at one point, do something Turtles, and that's the next pitch that I'm working on after this one. So the workflow right now for you guys that are interested is I'm working on this so that I can send that out to editors, either get in contact with people or who knows what comes of it, right? While working on Jessup King, and after this one, it's my goal to like almost monthly do a portfolio, if or every few months anyway, because of the Jessup King stuff. That's why I want to increase the quality of that, so I can always send that out. But I definitely do want to do like a 5-page or a 3-page Ninja Turtle thing for sure, just to even have online for people to check out. I think it'd be really cool. So we've got all the heroes coming in here. Hulk's already, so I didn't include that, which is a big problem here. Again, it's the same blimp theory we had at the beginning. We got to have a recurring action here. So let's put the Hulk here. You know, maybe he's starting to get the upper hand. He's lifted a dude above him. Still got like a mountain of guys on him. Maybe over here we can. I feel like I'm forgetting him already. The Mole Man. Here we can kind of have, alright, the heroes are all like crashing and doing hero stuff. Superman's eye blasting a guy, and Spider-Man's doing some cool stuff. Heroes crash in. So it's going to be pretty quick work that they're going to do here. Do something Spider-Man-y. That. We're gonna have Iron Man start. It feels like Wonder Woman and Superman haven't really done anything, so let's get them doing something here while Iron Man like wraps it all up. So we get the big energy bubble. Just capture all the guys in there. You got a nice shot of Wonder Woman here. She's deflecting stuff with her bracers. You know what actually might be kind of cool? Get one of these mole men to like throw a rock. Ding. Hits him back in the face. I'm going to change this up here. No idea what this music is. So we'll have that. Oh, we got the giant monster coming up there. The heroes on there. I don't like that shot. We need a close-up of the horn for sure. So maybe we can have one last shot for me. We'll draw a mole man here. Nice close-up of his dirty face. We can show the horn. Close-up of the horn here. Blowing on the horn. And the next thing too, we're gonna definitely get into the roughs here before we're done. Where you're gonna see things like, again, yeah, I did have like arrows to describe shots, but these aren't carbon copies of how the page will look. Again, it's iterating on what we have, but try not to deviate too much. If there's something where it's like, you know what, like this shot here of the Hulk, I think being an up shot where we can see the fist coming at us is definitely what we're gonna do. It doesn't really show it here, but that's most definitely what I think would feel much better, that shot there. So here we can have just a final resolution here to sort of show what's going on. So we got all the guys in the bubble. Iron Man's holding up, and we can kind of have the heroes all like like throwing one last guy off of him or something. I like Superman flying here. We get to show like a little bit of the destruction, you know, that's happened. We put a few dudes on the ground. Still put the background. Give us a spot to put the background so that we're still in the same location. You know, nothing's changed too much. And then just like a giant friggin' monster here. This one, let's change it. I'm actually gonna change this close-up shot. Okay, and the last thing I'll do here before we get into that one is it's sort of like the floor plan, like where is all this taking place? I've talked about this before and it helps. Again, not these thumbnails will never be perfect, that's not the point. Yep, save it. So let's make a little floor plan of what's going on. So where does it start? We got New York City. I don't know where in New York City this is, so let's just assume that there's two buildings here. The story takes place as the characters are walking from somewhere over here, and Mole Man shows up here. MC for main characters, and heroes land here. Okay, so what this, just even this simple thing here will let us do is know that there's elements here that we need to keep remembering, like what's on either side. Is this just one street? That works too. So that every time we see behind the Mole Man, that's how we're looking, right? So again, thinking of where are we putting the camera in this. So just looking at what we already have, even though it's it's pretty rough, it looks like we're shooting the camera is pretty much here. So what does that mean? I can never shoot the camera on this side. Okay, so that's going to help us once we start into the refining things. And yeah, I know this is the confusing part. This is the stage I don't think too many people probably you instinctively think about. I like to have it just in case I ever need to, you know, go back and look at something. So let's save this up again. I'll save, and I'll open. I think we have a page going here. Roughs. Did I start one? Yeah. I don't know if there's anything in there. No. Okay, so I've already got my pages ready to go. Page info. This is I'll put January in here. Why not? Alright, so we'll have that there. That's all set up. Oh, are these friend-ins? I got this from another artist. I didn't know that. Cool. Yeah, he's got some. If these are his, yeah, that's pretty. They're really good brushes for Photoshop. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do as well here. Okay, so we've got this. This is page 1. Let me just save this again. Like I said, batches are the best way to do this here. So we're going to erase this and put 2. We're going to save all 5 pages right now. creaky chair, my gosh. Alright, I like to change this first layer to multiply so that the lines are going to show up over top. And this one we're going to group. We're going to call this one thumbnail. Actually, should have saved all that. Should have did all this before I did all that saving there, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and grab our marquee tool here. Just going to select the first one. And Control-Shift-C. This is actually one thing, I don't even know if Manga Studio does this. If it does, that'd be awesome. I haven't found it, but it's tremendously useful. In very small situations for sure, but it's instead of Control Copy, it's Command or Shift Control Copy, and that copies everything you can visually see, which is awesome. You don't have to merge layers and stuff together to get what you need done, right? So we're going to paste it in there, and we're going to Control T. I'm just going to knock it in. And we're going to go and adjust this stuff as we go for sure. But this is, again, just to... So when I come in to start this stuff, I can just go, okay, let's get this going here. So I have that there. We're going to need that. Just trying to do something here I should have already done before. Panels. What else do we need? What's that? Frames. Borders. Frames. That's good. Okay. Ben, what's that? Whenever I try to make a comic, I usually rush it and get burnt out quickly. Do you have any tips on how to slow down a bit? I find that goes both ways. If you ever feel like you need to rush something, if there's usually something there that's got you turned on and interested in doing it. So I find actually acting on that is great. It's the burnout part you need to work on, and sometimes it is just what works for me is the Pomodoro technique. You can check that out. Pomodoro. You can check my YouTube channel. I got a video on that as well, and I'll be doing it soon as well. But what it is you work for 20-25 minutes, then you take a 5-minute break. And by break, you literally leave wherever you are. You stop going on a computer, you stop drawing so you don't see it. Look outside, pet a cat, do what you gotta do. You do that 4 times, and on the 4th time, you take like a half hour, anywhere from a 10 to a half hour break. And it might seem like, well, you know, I'm losing time to do that, but I find that the time's more focused, and especially helps with people like me that get, the longer I'm sitting doing something, the easier I fall into distractions myself. So other than that, just do that, man. Have like I guess an idea, like a goal of what you're trying to do that day. Sometimes the goal can just be, I just want to draw today. Excuse me. I'm getting hiccups and this water's fighting back. Alright, so I'm actually going to just duplicate all those layers into the other one. And the computer might get bogged down here a little bit because these files tend to get a little bigger. Dawson is saying, is there a sensible way in Photoshop of undoing and also clearing a layer without deleting the layer? Both issues are my major gripes with Photoshop. Other than lack of, stabilization is sort of like you just got to get used to the software. Is there a... Okay, well, what do you use to draw in Photoshop? I use the small Cintiq, and I have one of the buttons mapped to whenever I press it. It's not Control Z, it's Control Shift Z, and that is like a... I don't even know the actual name for that, but it actually does that. Like, it'll do this here, right? Like, if I draw, I can just press this undo button and it'll actually go all the way back, right? I like getting a hotkey for that. You can actually map a shortcut to that as well. Other than that, your other question, is there a way of clearing a layer without deleting a layer? Yeah, it's edit. Okay, so the way that I know how to do it is, let's just say I'm doing all this stuff, I'm like, ugh, I don't like all that. It's up here is select all or Control A, and then you're gonna get this marquee around it. You just hit delete, and then you can just go select, deselect, so you get rid of that box, or Control D. That's how you get rid of it. But like I'll say, I don't necessarily think there's something that makes Photoshop better than any of the other software to draw. It's just what gets you making stuff, that's all. Just keep using the software that you're able to continually draw without question. As you can tell, like, I bounce between Manga Studio 5 and Photoshop all the time. And I think that's just because, again, I work all the time at work. That's all we use is Photoshop. So I'm in there day in, day out. But when I come home, it's like comics time. And there's a lot of really cool things about Manga Studio for sure. But the more stuff I do at work, it's sort of like I'm melding a lot of the workflow I would do in Manga Studio into Photoshop. It's definitely different for sure. So it's basically the same as workarounds. I just get annoyed when I step back and it throws me a different layer. Okay, yeah. If you're hitting like check this out. If I hit delete on this layer, I don't know why, but for whatever reason in my Photoshop, it won't actually delete any of these layers. At work, I use the exact same Photoshop. It does delete them, so I must have a setting turned off that I'm not aware of. I have to manually delete this layer, and that helps because if I accidentally hit delete, like that's no good. Well, I don't know what my hand would be doing over there. Maybe if I was hitting enter or something. So the last page here. Multiply. Alright, so let's go back here. Let's keep doing what we were doing. Let's bring this marquee tool over here. Whoops. You want my... It might actually be in somewhere in like file, let's see here. File, edit, preferences. Yeah, let's check it out. I have no idea. I'd just do a Google search. You'll probably save yourself a lot of time instead of waiting for me to try to figure it out for you. Probably have much better success looking online somewhere. So we're gonna change this layer actually to multiply as well. This thumbnail there. It's gonna help us later. When we start adjusting things. So I'm just gonna save that, close it. We don't need it. Just to free up some RAM. And I do notice, I don't know why, this is one crappy thing, I guess, about the Photoshop that I have, is that it eats up a lot of RAM. So what I'm going to do, or like temporary stuff, so it's saving a lot of this stuff that I've already been doing, and when it gets time to draw, a lot of this is going to start to slow down, so I'll have to just restart Photoshop here. can start on page 1. But I'm hoping you guys can see already, and you can totally do this in Manga Studio as well, just how this sort of workflow maybe will help you out if it's something you're interested in, just so that you know, like, okay, I've spent some time doing this, and now that it's time to get into actual working, it's easier to do that now that this grunt work's kind of done for these pages. So I know, like, I come home from work, let's say, and it's comics time, that oops, oh, I've just realized something that I've been doing here. These are only supposed to be about this size, because see, I'm getting kind of like flustered because I'm streaming too. But we still got the rough stage to go after this. And a lot of people, you can actually go right into like tight line work, even over this, if you feel confident over it. But yeah, so you can kind of get these pages set up so that when you do come home, or when you get the time to do it, you just open up that file, right? And it's like, okay, that's the page, I'm ready to go. As opposed to using all the, and this could be, you know, just something that I'm bitching about. Instead of all this mind energy of, okay, I gotta set up all these pages, all these folders and stuff, like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's already done. I don't need to worry about it. I just, you know, file, open, start drawing some pages. So let me just adjust these. And you'll see why, if it's not clear as to why I'm doing this right now. We'll see it soon. And I'll just back out and show you the process one more time here. Again, this workflow is the DC Comics Guide to Digitally Drawing Comics workflow. So if it's interesting to you, buy that book. So all our documents and stuff are going in there, which we're not really going to use at all. Reference, I'm most likely going to take a second and probably do that next before we do into the roughs of all the characters that we're using in this story, so that I can do that now, so that I don't have to go again each page and go, what's the reference I need? I already know roughly what I'm going to be doing here. It's all in one scene, right? It's all in one shot. There's nothing too crazy going here. There's no curveballs because I've already worked all that out. Thumbnails are done. Next stage after that is roughs, lines, inks, and then the final is this sort of stage here in Manga Studio. You don't really need, but the final is I get all my layers, merge them down into like a TIFF, and then I convert it to bitmap, so it's just black and white. That way it's the smallest file that it'll possibly be, and when it prints, that pixel art that turns lines into pixels is going to be crisp and actually look a lot better than it does look on web, I find. And then when you send it to a colorist, all that. But all that's not going to happen. This furthest is we're going to get his inks and then save for web, because that's what we'll be sending to editors and when we post on the website and stuff. What version of Photoshop do I have? I have no idea. Let's check it out. How do we do that? Windows. Photoshop CC, whatever that is. PJ. I like doing all of thumbnails first too, because when you get into the drawing part, you never have to start with a blank page. Exactly, 100%. I share the exact same thing that you do there. You still have a lot of work to do, but at least you decide what to draw. Exactly, yeah. If I'm able to devote all my... Again, for me, this is the most mental taxing part. So I know if I start my day or whatever, just doing this, as many as I can do, it's going to help down the road, because I don't know about you guys, but there's those days I come home or whenever I'm ready to draw and you're just like, nothing's coming out. Ugh, what do I... And it's just like this big mud square that I'm trying to turn into a sphere, turn it into a shape, and it's just not. The professional part of you has to say, well, too bad, suck it up, draw anyway, and that's great. But ever since I was introduced into this sort of like batching or bulking process together method, it just sort of was like, you know what? It actually makes sense, especially digitally, because I think a lot of our efficiencies in digital are that we can bulk tasks or batch a bunch of work together and process it in a way. And it's a natural feeling too. I think, if you're cleaning your house, I struggle with this, but there's a tendency is when you start to clean, you're probably gonna there's a higher chance of you cleaning the entire house as opposed to you starting the day going, I'm going to clean my entire house. It's sort of like that. Just the journey. What is it? The journey to wherever starts with a single step, something like that. That's all it is. And I know all we're talking about is comic book pages here. We're not talking high philosophy and stuff. But anyway, okay, so we're gonna have that. Next thing we're gonna do here, I'm just gonna go actually. I might take a 10-minute break here. I gotta make a phone call. But after this, we're gonna do a very quick reference gathering. You guys can see that, and then we're going to jump into. I don't know what we're jumping into. I think we're gonna jump into roughs. That's right. Okay, so I'll be right back, you guys. And thank you, everybody that's here so far. And I hope you're having a good weekend as well. Okay. I forgot it again. 1 second. I forgot our secret weapon. I forgot my timer on the last one. So I want to make sure we didn't forget it again. And of course I did. Okay, so for 25. I'll share it with you guys so you guys get that. A nice, satisfying countdown time. Doesn't that feel good? It's your friendly little buddy just there, just tapping you on your shoulder. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Just want to double check what you're saying. Okay, I've had the problem where my tab would crash. I'm deleting layers. I'm not sure if that's what. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it very well could be that. Maybe I'll have to do that after in another stream here. So I'm going to open up page 1. We're going to do our reference. And the only reason I'm opening this is because I want all this. That's hilarious. Now if I press delete, it'll actually delete the pages. Oh, I don't know what the hell's going on. I just wanted the file size here for that. So we're going to need to grab some reference for the Hulk. We need Superman. Wonder Woman. Spider-Man. And who else? Iron Man. That's what we have. Wallman. Actually, I'll leave all the minions with Wallman. That's fine. And some sort of like worm, like I'll have to do some research on that, just so I can bring some real life stuff in here. The New York sort of style stuff, you know, I'll bring that in, whatever. The last thing is fashion, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. I'm not a very fashion savvy guy. As long as I got shirt and pants on, I'm pretty much fine. You know, I'm not one of those people that can organize all our stuff together. They look real sharp. So we're going to save this in our reference folder. And what I like to do with this is, this would be our master reference here, okay? Just to get an understanding of how I like to use this. And there's two things we can do with this. One is for every page that these characters are on, we take the needed reference and paste it into that file so that we don't ever have to open an additional file. All of what we need is contained. The other option is to always have this reference file open, that you can move that window to a different tab or to your second monitor, and you can always have it there and you can click through to go one way or the other. I float both ways just for simplicity's sake here. I'm just going to stick with making the one reference file. Shouldn't be too drastic. I pretty much know a lot of the characters, what they look like and stuff, but you never know when you slip things up. So we're going to start with the fashion here, and all I'm looking for with that is we're just going into Google, just a simple image search. And what I'm talking about with fashion here, right, is I'm going to just type in grandparents, and I'm going to use that as reference of what they're wearing, because one of the things I struggle with, I don't know if you guys do or not, is like, let's say we're going to have a scene coming up on this first page of them walking through New York. So the next thing I'll be looking for is like New York. And as long as I have a shot of what people are wearing, I can just draw what I'm seeing, as opposed to always requiring my brain to think of like a new outfit. And those new outfits, usually, they don't even look that good. They're just sort of, you know, again, shirts and pants. Like this one, I'm looking at this picture, you guys can't see, I'll bring it over, but it's like they're kind of wearing a scarf. Like, I'd never even have thought of it like that. But, oh, okay, well, now that introduces a new thing. Is it cold? Can we add some snow to this? Do we want to do any of that stuff, you know? And what's a traditional look to some stuff, right? So, here, I'm going to do this. I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to have a few pictures in here that we can address as we go, and just sort of pick what we want. I kind of actually like these guys look like traditional white grandparents almost. Right, but even just having these two pictures here alone, I'm good, right? I can start to mix and match and create these characters that they're just plot devices. These aren't, you know, this isn't Uncle Ben and Aunt May, right? That's not at all what they are here. So let's just shrink this up here. We don't need them to be that big. Okay, so we can put them there. What's on the next stage here? Worm. I think somebody had a question here. Ben's asking, what's your favorite stage in the process? Thumbs, roughs, rendering, something else? For me, it's usually the roughs. Roughs are about my favorite because I can get that sloppy art, rough anatomy look without having to spend the hours it's going to take to clean it up. Rendering is actually really fun. I do enjoy that, but that's all bulked into like the line weight and inking stage, and that stuff, it's just time consuming. Like, you just got to put the hours in, you know, to get it done. But at least I find with the roughs, it's a little bit of a mix of both. There's a little, not detail work, but there's enough there that you can go, oh, I understand what the hell I'm looking at. Plus, it's sloppy enough to go, okay, there's still some creative thought required to look into, so it's a little bit more energy requirement on the viewer's part. So I'm just typing in worm, and I'm just trying to find, like, it's just like an effect, you know, because what this little creature that's only going to be in one panel on page 5 is going to let us do is, you know, again, sort of go into that texture work. Like, what else can we add in here? Like, is it just like a mutant centipede with a bunch of teeth that looks, you know, like what is it? This thing looks, this doesn't even look scary or evil, but this looks really cool. Hallucinatory fossil. What is this one? Maybe like a slug creature might be cooler. That's kind of cute. Put some teeth or something on this. And maybe we'll just go with this. Everybody kind of knows what the hell that is. So let's copy that. I'll put it in our worm folder. And here, I'll just zoom in so you guys can kind of look at that while I'm skimming around. I can see, you know, like from here I can go ahead and go, alright, now I can add things to it. What I'm trying to do is take away as much design thought needed per page up front, if it's possible. So, Mole Man. Oops. I don't know what it is with this character. It's like the lamest costume, but he's cool. I always like the villains with like a little bit of a gut. They always come across as like, you know. Okay, so Mole Man. Up here. Right, so hopefully you can see what's going on here. Now I know like design elements that we need or certain things. And sometimes I'll add like the 2015 to it as well, in case there's been new designs. 2016 for now, but I mean it's not. Whoops. There hasn't really been Mole Man art yet, I don't think, from Marvel for the Mole Man. So let's just, is it Mole Men? Mole Man, Mole Men. Wow, I didn't know it'd be this hard to find these guys. Is that really the best we got? Phil Collins from Trailer Park Boys. Is it the same image that has more Mole Men on it? Ugh. Sometimes you get shots like this where it's just the worst resolution. But you take what you can get. Right. I know the way their bodies are gonna look. We don't gotta go too silly with it. Alright, so let's look into Iron Man 2015. Alright, let's take a look. Okay, like this kind of costume, this ain't that bad. New Iron Man designs. Oh, this will help. We'll roll with it. So we got Iron Man, Spider-Man. And another trick too is trying to find designs of these characters that I always like Bagley, that maybe, well, hopefully don't influence your design, like, or your style of drawing, right? And more so just the costume, but it's your own reference, right? If you like a certain artist, like let's say you're a huge Capullo fan, there's nothing to say. You just toss a couple, you know, like you're drawing like a Batman pitch or whatever, and you like kind of like his Batman. Put a couple his Batmans in there or whatever, and you sort of use it as reference to like build off of. You know, it's just for you. So put what you want in there as well. It's better to get it done up front if you can think about it, instead of waiting until you get there and then you're pretty much pooched, you know, or it's just downtime that you could have gotten away with. So actually this is a better, I really don't like the way this looks, but this is a better image here, just to show you the exact reason. Whoops. So Spider-Man is pretty much, I think everybody knows how to draw Spider-Man at this point, but you know, there's some people that might not. I don't draw him from the back too much. I know he's got the symbol back there, so I just want to have it in here so that if I need it, it's right there, right? So it's Spider-Man, Iron Man, Wonder Woman. Now here's a character I have a vague idea of what she looks like. Wonder Woman. 2015. Got to keep the costumes up to date, right? So Finch is doing Wonder Woman right now. And I don't know which one of these designs is current. It looks like it might be that. I really don't like that. Stupid, like, Wolverine kind of blade she has. It's kind of goofy looking. And you can see I'm running out of room. Just start overlapping because these are all on layers, right? You can just turn them off as you need them. Superman. This is perfect for the costume anyway. It's like, what the hell are we listening to? Alright, who else we got here? And our favorite, the Hulk. Guess we'll go with the Avengers, like the movie version. No, I don't. Ugh. So tricksy. Yeah, I kind of like this. I'm gonna try drawing them a little different in this one. Normally, I don't really do the huge mouth part. I feel it looks a little goofy, but it's kind of the character, right? So we'll try it and experiment with it. Let's see if it works. Alright, so that'll be our reference here, so we can save that up. So it took a little bit of time, of course, but now that it's done, right? What do I think of Spider-Man's new glowing chest symbol suit? I haven't picked it up. I haven't followed it, so I'm not sure. It looks... It kind of has this mix of the, like, what is it, the 2099 version? Okay, so we have that now. We're going to close Photoshop, and we're going to open it up again. Hey, Jessup. let's get to it. So file, open, page 1. Alright, so the reason why I said not to make it the full page like we were doing is because when we start off thumbnails, it's small so we can get quick energy down. The next idea is to blow that up. Not necessarily, some people work differently, but not to the full 11 by 17 page width and size that we would normally use on a finished piece, but possibly halfway, kind of like what we have right now, so that I still have room to add detail in there now, but it's not enough to, there's not enough room in there to go like crazy detail. It's sort of clarifying the whatever the hell shapes we got going on here. Thanks, John, for talking with Todoist the other day in your video. It's been super helpful. I'm glad it's been helpful, man. Now, for those of you that don't know, I've got this program called Todoist, not To-Do List, Todoist, and it's basically like a task managing thing where you can just make tasks and schedule them throughout your week. Jessup, come on, get out of here, bud. So that it helps plan your day a little bit in case you get like appointments or things you don't need to worry about necessarily all the time. Let me just see if I got... Yeah, I've got mine here. I don't really want to show too much that's going on there. But what's really cool is you can do something like this. Let me just bring this over here too. So I use Evernote, and I will talk about that in another video. But let's just say, I don't know, you've gone to a website and you're like, I want to remember that, or I need a task or something to do that. You can actually just right-click in Chrome anyway, and just go add to Todoist, and it'll make a task. So in your, I use the getting things done method, and I know I'm probably saying some stuff here that some people have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. But in that methodology, the idea is you have a place where you dump all of the things that you need to do, or needs your attention at some point, or something you might want to remember, in an area. So for paper things, I have an actual inbox that I throw receipts, just garbage into it. In this case, I would go, okay, one of these sites, Patreon, blah, 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 I need to reply to somebody. Right-click, add task. It'll put it into the inbox of Todoist, so that once a day or once every other day or every few days, I'll go into my inbox and there's a whole system in it, and I'll explain that later in another video, where you can just start going, this goes here, this goes there, that goes there, very, very quickly. And what Todoist lets me do is go, okay, well, these are all I need to worry about today. And if I'm able to do them, great. If not, move them to another day. That way, if you ever find yourself forgetting things, or you wish you were able to be more productive in a certain way, it does help with that. So check that stuff out. It's a big tool that I'm not too sure a lot of people, maybe not, they're just not interested in it. Or the number one thing I have heard when I ask people, hey, have you checked this out yet? Is, oh, I just remember in my head. And it's like, you know, I can't. That's not a reliable place to store stuff. At least it hasn't been for me, so. And the other thing too, the other ideology behind it is, like, if you don't remember it, it frees your brain up to think about other cool things. If you're not worrying about, oh god, did I do this, or do I need to do this? Right? Hey V, we've been streaming here for about 2 hours. I've got about, I think I'm gonna do, what time is it? We've got about 5 minutes left on the Pomodoro here before we do another short break, and then I'll probably do another 25 minutes. And that should be it for today. I'm just trying to think because I got something I need to do today. But hey, thanks, Dragon. I'm hoping to get more stuff going here on. So far, anyway, even just this one little quick, fun stream here has been. We've got to see a whole bunch of new faces, which is great. That's the one thing where I'm currently at on Picardo that unfortunately doesn't have a lot of new people coming in and all that. I think on YouTube it just organically helps. People that are just, you know, like surfing the YouTubes, right? So anyway, yeah, thank you. So we're going to lower the opacity here because it's kind of getting a little dark. So again, we're just tightening up bits and pieces. I don't really need to worry about this first panel. I know what's going on here. It's going to be some city stuff, which most likely means SketchUp, right? So I don't really need to worry about that. I know there's going to be a a blimp here of some sort. I'm assuming there's a SketchUp model for a blimp. So if not, then we'll reference one out and we'll find it. Now this sort of shot here, so I'm going to work in a couple colors here. This is something I've been trying to do lately. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but whoops. Is that right? Oh, we'll see what it goes. The idea here is like I can get my perspective in one quick color. You can see I'm just going sloppy with it, but it's more than enough information here to know what we need to draw here. So we need to have a grandpa. And you might notice too as we do this, this is where I think a lot of the trickery comes in, is figuring out what you need to do in these stages, or at least in this workflow anyway, of like how far do you take something, right? And it's still something I bounce between back and forth. Most likely I add another stage on top of this just to clean these guys up just a little bit more, but you don't have to. You'll find out what it is you like. Anyway, so they're gonna have their grandson here walking. He's got a little action figure with him. I thought last time you were here you were planning on sticking to YouTube. I think I was, but it was running into the end of the year there, and I didn't want to have. I don't want people to go to Picardo expecting a stream when there's not. I've got to slowly move it over, right? So in stages. So far, anyway, it seems. I just have to watch the playback. I think some people are having a little bit of stream problems, so I got to check how to optimize it. But I do so far enjoy use YouTube a little bit better here. So we got them walking down here. Gesture and sidewalk. We're gonna put buildings in here somewhere. Don't need to worry about it too much. Alright, well, just give me a second here. I'm just gonna finish this one thing. Then we're gonna take our break. We're just gonna use the gesture of where they are to put some more people in perspective here. Figure something we can put in the foreground. A little lamp post. And this will let us put another one down here. It's like the old railroad trick whenever he's learning perspective, right? Like how do you get this sort of stuff going on? But I did want to have a car in here as well. It's probably coming like down here somewhere. This will be a SketchUp model, obviously. So we can worry about it then. I just got to figure out if we want the tailpipe to be here. So we want all the attention focusing in on them, right? Like this is the primary shot. So this car driving away, I feel like it makes my eye try to look at the dust to the tire. So we're gonna get rid of the smoke here. We can have this kind of coming at us. That's fine. Brings us more into the image. We can get our buildings on this side. Some sort of fancy buildings here. Don't need to worry about them too much here. I just know that there's going to be buildings, and then we can have all the cityscape background. Put it stacked, so there's lots of it. And remember what we said before? We're going to put that blimp up here as well. That just cements between panel 1 and panel 2 that it's the same scene, right? So there's a lot going on there. That's fine. Then we're going to jump down in here, but we're going to take a 5-minute break. Oops. Save it. Okay, so we'll be right back and talk to you guys soon. Alright, let's get the timer going again. Let's hammer it out. I know I've only got about 25 minutes left here in this last Pomodoro, and then I'll be doing some exercise and then getting ready for the thing I gotta go to. So let's make it count. Yeah, thanks everybody that came in a little bit after here. Theoretically should be auto good to go. I'll probably share it tomorrow, maybe Monday, depending on whatever. The last week's live stream should be up. The Scribble show should be up either today or tomorrow. So we have there, and then again, remember we have that arrow, that up shot. So we're going to sort of get our perspective in here. It's pretty dramatic. And the reason I want it like this is it sort of brings us on the kids level, like we're playing with the parents. And I don't even know what they're talking about. They're just walking him around. He's got an action figure of a superhero, so so this is here. This one we can probably bring all the way down here. And we're gonna fix up the perspective obviously once we tighten this all up. So take a little bit of thought here. And I don't want the parents to be giants, but so we can get his neck. See if we can sneak the action figure in here. No, this is it's a group of Marvel and DC characters together for a portfolio. I elected to go with Superman instead of Batman. Grandparents here. So we're going to lead the eyes here too. So we're going to have her looking down, him looking at her. Now in these shots here, I do take it an extra step. You'll see I'm going to start tightening things up a little bit more. Now what I can see is kind of happening is I want to move this down because this looks like a shot that they're talking and there's no room for speech bubbles. So I'm going to bring it down just like that so that I can still put some buildings in the background or something, and we can kind of have room, right, for like she says whatever, he's like, no, but I love blah 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 and blah 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 blah. But I just want to tighten this up just a little bit more. In this stage here, this tightening up, normally I would also do this probably before the line art stage, so I would just do these tighter thumbnails, I suppose, and then kind of do the roughs sometimes as I'm doing the page. Sure, you know what? He's got the superhero here, but I don't think looks kind of weird. I'm not really worrying about the clothing just yet. I'll save that to when we get to the actual line art. It's more just the anatomy in here, because it's quick, just to figure this out, right? We gotta be careful, you know, like, even though this guy looks like he's got the body of Superman or something here, like, he's not gonna have these pecs once we get the kind of clothing and stuff on there. There's just there's no reason for it. I want when the heroes show up, I want them to be heroes, right? They gotta stand out different than how the regular people look. So I'm hoping with the clothing I can kind of mask that, but what this stage does is it lets me just figure out in perspective where these, you know, people are and what they're doing. Figure some old lady haircut later. So he's got her arm around her. You know, get a little intimacy there. Alright, like that's enough to show what we need to when we get into the next stage. Is the Surface Pro too little to do this kind of stuff on it? No, I don't think so. You just, like, the Cintiq I'm using is the 12WX, so I think it's pretty much the same. The Surface Pro I have is the Surface Pro 1. I believe it's the same size. It might be a little smaller, like a little bit more widescreen. But I don't think it's that dramatic of a difference. It very well could be, but I've done work on there. The only problem I find with the Surface Pro is it's not the most comfortable thing to work on for the workflow I do. Doing this, just this rough stuff, totally do this on there. It's when the tight line art comes in where, okay, well I need to pull in certain things or get, like, I don't know, it's very hard to describe. I think if you can learn to use the tool, then you're fine. It's just going in there knowing that there's going to be a little bit of a hiccup. Or, like, do you have a Surface Pro? Have you already been working with it? So we're going to do a down shot here. Pretty much opposite of the shot we just did. This way now we're the parents looking down. Change the thumbnail just a little bit. And the idea here is to show the actual figure a little bit more. You don't have a Surface. Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's just a couple artists that I know of that work on it. I know Jersey Joe's already talked about him with his webcomic. Boulder and Fleet. I don't know what other work he does on there. You can always reach out to him on Twitter. He goes by the handle Jersey, Jerzey. But, like, even if you guys remember, I was looking at the Huion. I brought that to work now, but the bigger monitor. Sort of like, I just wanted something bigger to work on because I do feel like the screen resolution here is just, it's too crowded, right? Like, even doing this helps, for sure, getting rid of some stuff. But I would like to have a bigger screen so that I could see more of the page while I'm working on it. But those are just sort of like the first world digital problems. So I'm going to lower the opacity on there here. Just sort of figure this stuff out a little bit more. Just some sort of hair, I don't know what the hell. Another kid telling like a kid kind of story. Maybe he's like a little bit of a Superman kind of character. And these are always the pages too that I find like I don't find them as fun to draw. They got their own little moments. These are the ones where I feel they build you up more as a storyteller. You know, the people that aren't the superheroes. So they're very important, but deep down inside, it's like I can't wait to get back to the fighting or the action kind of shots, right? So this will leave us room to like have people walking by, maybe. This guy's just standing here. I don't know. See, like I know this would be a great spot to fill up with text, so I'm not going to put too much going on here. Maybe just put like some dirt. Maybe here we can have the start of like a building. Okay. What's that? Liking the camera angles? What does someone need to know to start doing this sketch pages? So in the first 2 hours of the stream here, I went through and did all the thumbnails that you're seeing underneath. So if you want, you can go back and watch that once this is uploaded. Excuse me, sorry about that. Other than that, the easiest recommendation I can do that might help is just experimenting with camera angles. You know, not just movies, but look at books and do some research. Like actually read some, what's it called? Read about the subject. I really do feel like a lot of people don't read as much as they should, and this isn't a nose up in the air kind of way, but there is knowledge in books, and it activates different things in your brain when you read something to understand something and comprehend it. So I recommend getting some like cinematography books or storytelling books. There's a lot of like comic books on comics that are drawn in comics with writing as well that help. I mean, any of the Scott McCloud stuff I think is great. I wouldn't call them intro level stuff, but it doesn't matter how old you are, it's always good to go through that stuff from time to time, maybe every few years or once a year or something. They're quick reads. But personally, I'm looking into getting into. There's at least one cinematography book that I have an eye on that I'm going to check out. But other than that, yeah, the easiest way, the absolute easiest way for the least amount of work to put in is just grab any comic book that you like, the artist's art, and then grab one that's just like a popular title, something like Avengers, X-Men, Batman, like a legit titled book that's like the top, the grossing sort of thing, and just to see, not to necessarily support or agree with what they're doing, just to see what they're doing to help storytelling for them, and see if there's a way to introduce that into your work. So I'm just doing this. I do this all the time here. This is a quick and dirty trick here for this, but I normally just go on to. I don't think I'm finding it actually. That's hilarious. You just type in fisheye grid. I have one saved somewhere on here, but just for the sake of this, for this thumbnail, I just want to have it here. We're going to multiply it. And we are going to change this to the proper grid once we get into the final line art. But this is going to help with the thumbnail, right? So we want Horizon to be around there-ish. Invert the selection, delete all that. Lower the opacity here. Really what I just did like with that is what we were doing with the white, or with the red, right? Let's go ahead and get there. Shakespeare. When doing panels, do you keep and spiral golden ratio in mind? I don't even think I know what those are. If those are like this thing, whatever the hell this is, and then you break this down into that, then definitely not. But maybe I should, like I just said, my own ignorance there, right? Like, if that's what it is, I've seen it, but I've never looked into applying it or why do that besides compositional eye flow or something. But I mean, it's storytelling, so anything like that should help out. But no, when I do comic panels, it's more thinking of the flow is my number one thing. Like, here's a quick example of what we got here. So we'll start with this page here. So I've got the lines coming down here, right? I'm trying to get like this car, everybody to kind of come in here. But what we're going to do is we're going to, bring some of these lines back in like this, perhaps, so that we get our eye to come back in here. And hopefully, even if they start here, or if they're coming back down here, she's looking down. So you're always looking down, it's coming back, and she's even looking back this way as well. I might be putting her eyes like she's talking to him. But what I'm thinking of, what probably makes more storytelling sense, is to have her eyes go this way, so that we lead back to this insanity that's going to happen on here. That's mostly what I'm trying to do for the most part. Then once you kind of have that, you can kind of break into, all right, how can we explode these panels possibly and make it as dynamic as possible? That's one way of looking at it. Depends on your style of storytelling. Biggest thing that I've always struggled with, or the one criticism I've always had, is clarity. People always feel, or at least the criticisms that I have received is just that, is there's either too much detail, not in a good way, because if your detail was done in a good way, it wouldn't be confusing, I think. So just sort of figuring out what it is that you can do to get better and all that stuff. So meaning where I was trying to go with that is I'm trying to get more clarity, ease of storytelling, easier on the eye, easier for readers to understand what's going on, as opposed to necessarily what looks really sick. And that has its pros and cons. But yes, Will Eisner is amazing, absolutely. Really, any of the old school comic book artists, I think you deserve everybody's attention. Kirby, definitely, even if it might take a little while to look at his stuff, eventually it will click. You'll understand what storytellers and artists are looking at When I first looked at Kirby, I was like, nope, this is garbage. I don't who cares about who. Why do I want to look at comic pages that are like this? That is the most boring grid setup I've ever seen in my life. And you'll have like a guy here and a guy here and like a face and here. Like it just doesn't. I don't know. I think it's like the '90s sort of comics where it's like, all right, let's get all the panels are just like vomiting all over the page, and it can get a little confusing, especially since, and I've been victim of this too. I always find that a lot of people are always worried about style and whatever the hell that really means, because it encompasses so much that it's tough to go in there. And I think style is really the last thing you should be thinking about ever. It's it's not really. I don't know. This is just my opinion on it, but it's not. Style is not why you're getting into comics. People just appreciate the style once they can understand what the hell it is you're trying to say. Like what's the story you're telling? How easy can I understand what you're saying? If it's easily understood, then it may come across as like, oh, that's such a sweet style. Um, but the only place appropriate, I think, for like the visual style, like I just like the way this everybody likes the way this person draws because of that style that they draw in is like concept art for video games and movies because it's a lot of just like an individual image. But comics, man, it's like each one of these could be an individual image on its own, right? And if that's the case, then I can go in here and just make this as polished with a style that I want in there. But people spend 10 to 30 seconds on a page, right? So if that's what they're spending, the styles should be more thought of in terms of your storytelling, like your pacing. Great example. There's two great examples. Eduardo Rizzo on 100 Bullets, amazing, amazing artist, and his storytelling with use of shadow is insane. When I was introduced to him, I have yet to meet even Mignola, or however you say his name. As great as his art is, it's my belief anyway that Eduardo Rizzo is a better storyteller. But even Mike, the way he draws, right? Like it's clear. There's what's going on, and it's got a visual interest to it, which is very engaging and really cool. And another person that I think most people probably know, Greg Capullo, who's doing Batman right now, right? Like he's got a very unique style of storytelling, a lot of close-ups, a lot of drama, which is great. And it's just different styles, right? Some people they draw like right in your face all the time, and that could be what you like to draw. And I think once you start to realize that what it is you like to draw, like how you like to tell a story, that's where your style can kind of go. You know what? Now you can sort of focus on accentuating what's going to tell the best story, and then your unique vision is going to come out, especially in comics. So lately, I've always been a Joe Madureira fan, but he doesn't really draw backgrounds and stuff. But his characters and the oomph that he's got in there is cool. I love Capullo's close-up shots. I love the drama that adds. But I also lately have gotten back into Brian Hitch, and I love like a shot like this where it's pulled back so we can see the environment that's being affected by something. I think it has a very dramatic look to it. That accentuates a lot of things, and that's sort of where I'm going. So I know that by having this, maybe I can't have the most dynamic character shots in some of these things. But if I can show a really cool scene, then that might be a way to help in that regard. I just started drawing about 2 years ago, and I found I like to start with the traditional drawing because I'm more comfortable with it than move into digital figure and how to perfect it. Yep, that's a great way. And that's the beauty of digital and analog drawing, guys. Like you can give and take however you want with both mediums to produce something that I do get a few comments from time to time. I've struggled with it. It's like, do I just do digital work? Do I do traditional? What's like as if one or the other is going to get you a job over like, oh well shit, if I had just drawn a digital I would have got a job. I wouldn't look at it that way. It's more of what's gonna give you the best work, right? So if that is incorporating traditional layouts into digital art, do it. Whatever is. Oh man, already, eh? This this Pomodoro stuff. Time just flies. Just do whatever is going to produce the best work that you can produce. And don't get stuck on tools. Make time to schedule and play around with stuff. Play with tools and things like that, but don't get stuck. Don't do what I've done and get stuck with like, oh, there's all these nifty new little things that I can add in my work, and maybe this will do this or that, and then you kind of back up and just sort of takes everything through a loop, and you end up going backwards as much as you should be going forward just by sticking with a certain workflow, and then experimenting in the downtime as opposed to experimenting when you should be working in hopes that you're going to learn some brand new thing that's going to make it so that when you feel like doing your real work here in air quotes that it'll be better. Don't do that. So this shot's getting pretty busy. It's going to be an interesting panel. I think it'll be fun to draw actually. There's a lot of background work in here, but this is going to be a great example of what I was just saying. Trying to freehand some buildings back here without doing paths and stuff like that because they're on a curve and there's a little bit difference here. You know what? I might actually put the blimp up here too, just because it's still going on. But we need to figure out some. There's a problem here that's going on. Is actually I should probably just put them in here now. Let's see if we can fix it. The buildings that these people were walking past should still be here, even though these explosions are coming out of the ground. Right, there's no reason that these shouldn't be here. And we can add some cracks to the ground here. Get some opposing angles. Have you ever tried out animation? Yeah, I went to school after I went to college actually for a local animation course called Tradigital Animation. It was a 3-year course. First year and a half is traditional animation on paper, scanned in and then do whatever. And then the third year or the second year and a half is more heavily focused on 3D like Maya and 3D Studio Max. It was at that time that I met the Marvel artist who sort of showed me some stuff, and animation was just like it's an art job. It's not what I wasn't passionate about it, and I wasn't really passionate about comics either. Um, but I enjoyed what comics let me do, especially when I found out that like in animation, I think a lot of the creative people here, you guys might be included. I think a lot, not everybody, but some people they like to just be part of the thing, and then some people would like to be on like I am the thing. I created that. And animation, at least my experience through that was like I'm not gonna be like it won't be that way. And this was like in 2000. Nowadays, it's radically different. Are you kidding me? You can with YouTube and all sorts of things, with the way social media has gone, you can do whatever you want nowadays. So it's different now. But even back then, when I went to do comics, it was like I want to be a penciler because the penciler was one that did the thing, and the art or the inker was sort of like just the person that turned it to ink. And in again learning more about the medium and stuff, it's not that it's still a cog in the machine where the inker you're very fortunate to have a kick-ass inker that can turn your pencils into amazing inks. It's a different attitude shift. But all said and done, animation I think will definitely help in storytelling, 100%. If you enjoy that sort of visual look. So there's an example. Let's use Capullo really quickly. He has an animated style to his art where if you put it with Alex Ross, who does like the Loomis painted method, of two radically different styles. I think for and this is taste. It depends what you want. I enjoy both artists. I like looking at Alex Ross's stuff to go like, wow, this is what Superman looks like if he was real. That's cool. And then Capullo is like, oh, I like seeing that because it's over the top. It's I can't get this from reality, right? And that's just you got to be honest to yourself. What is it that you like, and it's like that. I would recommend to look for action poses. Look at it honestly, guys. There's the only secret to drawing anything. I don't care. Yeah, like draw with Jazza, great YouTube channel. There's tons of artists on YouTube. I'm just one of them. We all will probably help or spread how we see art in our way, and I would have to assume 100% of us will agree with this. There's only one secret to anybody asking any question with drawing is how do you do this, blah blah blah. Yeah, keep asking questions, but unless you're drawing every day, Like that's the only secret that's ever going to get revealed to you. There is no shortcut. There is no, if I watch John draw a head or anatomy, I'll be able to draw that way. That's true to a degree, but you need to draw like 4 to freaking. If you could, you need to draw 24 hours a day. That's it. There's no other way about it. You want to be a better comic artist, you got to draw comics 24 hours a day. If you want to, and this has nothing to do with passion. This has nothing to do with like, oh, I was born to do this. It has nothing to do with this. This is work. This is the hard work. And this is literally what just separates people from other people. If you wonder why you don't have what you think you should have by now, or you wish you had what other people have, the only reason is besides like luck or running into somebody or that I'm talking about raw, like the difference between you and them is just mileage. You need to be drawing. So imagine you want to draw comics for a living. Let's say you want to work for Marvel or DC, you want to draw Spider-Man. Well, that Spider-Man artist currently, however long they've been drawing comics, they're spending 8 to 16 hours a day drawing comics, right? And if you got a full-time job like some of us or multiple part-time jobs or whatever, you don't have that time to devote into it. Okay, but you still have to devote as much as you can into it in order to get anything out of it. So that's really all it is. And as much of a downer as that might sound, you know what I mean? Like that might be, it might bring you down a bit, but it's just the real talk that if you're not accepting that, I would seriously consider what you're doing, and just know that you know. Like here's a good example. I'll just use myself as an example before we wrap up. Um, when I started to make the transition to trying to do comics full time, that was in 2000. It's been what, 15 years? It's 2016 now, but the year's not done. So we'll say a gentleman's 15 years, and I still haven't gotten a job with these people. But there's other reasons for that. It's I haven't been drawing as much as I should. I haven't been networking and things, right? Like there's reasons for this, and it's not. Well, I didn't. I didn't get the right anatomy book to teach me how to draw or understand how to draw cars and perspective and stuff, right? So when I see things like popular artists I look up to go into SketchUp and use cars, bring the car into Photoshop and draw the comic page on top of that, you got to start to question like, yeah, okay, there's that argument that you put in all these hours to draw that stuff. That's cool. But what is the purpose of what you're doing, right? And if it is, I want to make comic pages. Well, is as cool as a hand drawn car? Does that get you to the end of just popping in a 3D model and drawing over top of it? That's an argument. That's a whole nother discussion. But to me, it's the well, what is the enjoyment part you get out of it? That's going to get it done. That's all. So if you struggle with it, maybe that you maybe gotta do it. Like nobody, I don't know how many artists I talked to where it's like, oh really, you have an art education, tell me more about that, or oh you're successful because you've studied this and that. It's the you just do it, you make it, right? And if other people are asking questions about how you do it, then they're not in your shoes, right? Like you're moving up, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because it's letting you know that okay, you're on the right path to certain things with that. So anyway, I know there's a lot of rambly stuff. I didn't want this to turn into that. I just saw there was a couple questions in there that I wanted to bring up, just to talk about it. This is supposed to be just like a fun stream or whatever, but I gotta go. I gotta do some yoga. We're gonna sweat it out. It's gonna be great. Then I got some family stuff I got to do. But tomorrow, most definitely, I was just looking at the schedule. Probably, if I'm lucky, guys, this might get crazy time. Might do like an 8-hour stream. Might get crazy. And we'll see how that goes. So, either way, we'll be streaming tomorrow. And if you guys are around, cool. If not, thanks for showing out. And yeah, thanks for popping into YouTube. And I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed it as well. So, until next time, you guys, like usual, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and keep drawing the rest of the day. You got, or whatever hour it is now, hopefully you got a little bit of time to do some drawing and stuff. Okay, thanks, guys. Bye-bye.